Hello, please, good evening. My name is Simit Spence. I'm here to submit my assignment for week 6.2, which we are supposed to have um, a two folder. Which the first one is fun with functions, and the second one is fun with triggers. So let's go straight to my SQL. Alright. So the goal of this is to know how to separate. The goal is to show how to transform a full name into parts. So now we have all our scripts here. So now let's start with the first script. Okay, so I started by asking how I can extract the first name and the last name from the contact column. Okay, so that's the first step and the first question. Okay, so when you execute, let's execute the first question and let's go to the second one. So the second one I begin by creating answers. Okay, so my plan was to use star index to find the space and left or substrings to pull them. So that was the plan for the second question. So here's the answer. I plan to use star index function to locate the first space and child character and then use the left functions to extract the strings. Okay, so um let's run the second one to alright. So for the question 3, I add a hook query to the step 3. Okay, so for the step 3, I created a hook SQL query to the step 3. So let's run the step 3. Okay, so the reason being is I've already created it and I've already run it. That's why it didn't come. When I did it first, I already ran it. So that's why. That's the result of the question 3. So now let's go to the question 4. For the question 4, I use the W3 schools to confirm how to handle the length function for the last name extracted. That's for the question 4. Alright. And that was the answers for the question. So now let's move on to the question 5. I then turn the logic into two scalar functions. Okay, so for the question 5, that was what I did for the question 5. Okay. Alright, so the reason being is I've already run them already, that's why. And let's go to the question 6. So the question 6 was about comparison. Okay, so in the question 6, in the script, in the view, you can see I add a hook logic and the UDF results side by side. They are identical. Okay, so let's go to question 7. So for the question 7, the test returns zero results, providing there is no discrepancies between the logic and the function. That's for the question 7. So let me run the question 7. Okay. Okay. So now let's go to the question 8. So for the question 8, um, I'm now curious, how do I handle names with prefax in the middle initials? So for the question 8, it was to ask a next question for the question 8. Yeah. So now the function has been created. So now let's go to the trigger reads. The trigger reads fun with trigger. So the goal is to show how to automate tracking of when and who. Okay, so for the first script, for the script 1, um, next I asked how can I track when a record was modified and who did it. Okay, for the question one. Okay. So the reason being is it has already been tracked. I've already done that one. That's why. So let's go to the step two. So the step two, I decided an author update trigger was the best way to catch up changes automatically. So begin creating an answers for the question two. So the step two. All right. So I've already run all of them. That's it. So for the step three, let's run the step three too. So that's for the step three. And let's go to the step four. So the step four, I created one combined trigger. That's the TRJ customer update. It updates both the date and the user simultaneously whenever the rule changes. That's for the question four. So let's try and run the question four. So that's what it does. Now the function has been created. So for the question five, I updated the customer city. Notice that lost modified date and lost modified by columns update themselves instantly. The trigger works. Okay, so let's try for the option five, the step five. That's to test the results of the tracker. Okay. And the question six was to ask the question. Finally, we can apply the same logic to an audit table to track history over time. Okay. So for the question five, I made a mistake. So the question five, the script was to update customer city. Okay, okay, and also notice by the last modified date and the last modified by. So now let's run the question five again. Let's run the question five again. All right. So as you can see, it has been last date modify and last modify by. And here's the question six, which is a question. Okay. Now the question has been completed. Thank you very much.